I'll never forget the way my parents looked at me when they said it calm, cold, and without even bothering to lower their voices. "The best thing you can do for your brother's wedding," my mother said, "is stay home so you don't embarrass us." My father nodded, like he was approving a business contract. My brother didn't say a word. And just like that, I became the unwanted guest at an event I had spent months helping plan. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I simply stood up from that dining table in Raleigh, North Carolina, walked out into the humid evening air, and felt something deep inside me finally unhook like a chain snapping after years of strain. By sunrise, their perfect wedding had already begun to fall apart. Before I tell you exactly how it happened, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and hit subscribe so you never miss the next chapter. My name is Harper Lane, I'm 34, and I spent most of my life believing that if I worked hard enough, my family would eventually see me. Growing up above our small neighborhood bakery in Raleigh, I told myself loyalty was the same as love. That belief kept me running deliveries, managing orders, smoothing over crises my parents pretended didn't exist. From the outside, we looked like a classic American success story: a cheerful bakery, a tidy home, and 2 children, one who became a rising real estate agent, and the other who helped out. Everything tilted toward my brother, Evan. My mother, Janice, praised him so loudly the walls practically bowed. My father, Ray, stayed silent but approving. Years before the wedding fiasco, I was offered a digital marketing contract worth $45,000, the kind of opportunity that would have launched my career. But that same month, the bakery hit a financial wall. Late invoices, shrinking supplies, customers drifting away. So, I canceled the contract. I rebuilt our website, redesigned our brand, created ads that tripled weekend sales. When the bakery finally recovered, I thought just for a moment that maybe they'd acknowledge me. Instead, at a family meeting, my mother announced, "We've decided Evan will take over the bakery. He's just more capable." He hadn't lifted a finger, but they handed him everything: the keys, the praise, the legacy. And I was told to stay home. From his wedding, I felt something inside me shift, not enough to break, but enough to crack. And that crack widened with every step of the wedding planning. They never asked whether I had time. They never asked what it would cost me. They just handed me the lists, the deadlines, and the quiet disapproval that followed even the things I did right. The deeper I sank into planning Evan's wedding, the more I realized I wasn't preparing a celebration. I was managing a production powered entirely by entitlement. At least Evan's fiancée, Madeline, tried in small, apologetic ways to be kind. But she never stopped Evan from stacking more demands onto my already overflowing plate. And my parents? They acted like it was natural, expected that I would drop everything to make their golden boy's day flawless. I thinned out my freelance schedule, squeezed client calls between venue walkthroughs, and poured nearly $8,000 of my own savings into deposits because every time I mentioned a budget, my mother, Janice, pursed her lips like I'd just insulted the family legacy. One afternoon, I showed them the invitation suite I'd spent hours designing. Janice barely glanced at it before pointing to a minuscule spacing flaw. "Careless," she muttered, tossing it aside. Evan smirked. Typical Harper. My father, Ray, didn't even look up from the bakery's accounting logs he pretended to be reviewing. I swallowed the sting and kept going, adjusting timelines, renegotiating contracts, patching over Evan's ever-growing whims. A premium DJ. Imported orchids. High-end champagne. Every no I offered was met with an eye roll or a reminder. "This is your brother's only wedding, Harper." At night, I met Miles, the one person who noticed the exhaustion hollowing me out, at a small coffee shop near Glenwood South. He watched me sink into my chair. "You look drained," he said softly. "I just need to get through this wedding," I told him. "Maybe then they'll finally see me." "They won't," he said, not unkindly. "You're building a house in a place that keeps burning it down." His words followed me all the way home. The breaking point came during the menu tasting, 1 week before the wedding. I had chosen dishes that fit the budget: herb, chicken, fresh salads, affordable but delicious sides. Evan tasted one bite and shoved the plate aside. "This is bland. We need lobster. And real champagne, not whatever this is." My mother nodded immediately. "Fix it, Harper." I tanned a vase tacking 9. I reminded them the deposits were already paid, that upgrades would explode the budget. Evan leaned back, eyes hard. Stop cutting corners, he said. Make it happen. Something inside me didn't just shift this time, it snapped, clean and absolute. The very next morning, Evan made a public post on a Raleigh community page. My sister is ruining our wedding with her laziness and cheap decisions. I think. Within minutes, the comments flooded in. Neighbors I had baked birthday cakes for. Customers I'd stayed late to serve at the bakery calling me dramatic, selfish, ungrateful. That was when the quiet embers inside me warmed. Not rage. Not yet. Just heat, steady, rising, unmistakable. The night everything cracked didn't come with shouting. It didn't need to. The tension around the dinner table was thick enough to slice. Janice roasted her usual special dinner, chicken. But not a single person touched their plate. Evan scrolled through his phone. Madeline picked at her cuticles. Ray sipped wine like he wished he were anywhere else. I had spent the entire day juggling panicked vendors, trying desperately to keep the wedding from collapsing. Naively, I thought tonight might finally be the moment to reset expectations, to remind them I had already spent $8,000 of my own savings on deposits. But the second I opened my planner, Evan attacked. We need upgrades, he said without looking up. Lobster. Better champagne. And book that photographer from Charlotte, the one Madeline likes. I closed the planner slowly. There's no money left for upgrades. I've already covered the deposits. That photographer alone costs more than everything else combined. Evan scoffed. You're always so dramatic. Just figure it out. Janice set her fork down with a sharp clink. He's right, Harper. Why are you making this difficult? My pulse thudded in my ears. I'm not. I've spent thousands of my own savings. I'm out of money. Out of options. Ray finally glanced up only to shake his head. This is your brother's once-in-a-lifetime day. Don't ruin it. Ruin it. The words hit like a slap. I looked at each of them, searching for even a breath of gratitude. Nothing. Only irritation that I couldn't stretch myself thinner. I can't give you what you're asking, I said quietly. That was when Janice leaned forward, voice low and razor sharp. The best gift you can give your brother's wedding is staying out of this family for good. Madeline's eyes widened. Evan didn't blink. Ray folded his napkin, ending the conversation. Something inside me went still. Not broken. Just done. I didn't cry. I pushed my chair back, stood and walked out. The Raleigh night air hit my face like a cold, clarifying truth. I went straight to my room above the bakery, pulled out a suitcase, and began packing without a sound: clothes, toiletries, documents, the few things that belonged solely to me. I grabbed my keys and walked toward the door. When it clicked shut behind me, it sounded final. Like the last period at the end of a sentence I should have stopped writing years ago. The night I left felt colder than usual, as if the whole city had quietly stepped aside, finally giving me room to breathe. I sat in my car with the engine off, staring at my hands on the steering wheel. They weren't shaking. They weren't clenched. They were steady, steadier than they had ever been inside my parents' home. By morning, sunlight rose over Raleigh with a calmness that felt almost unreal compared to what I was about to do. Clarity comes softly. Mine came with a list. First, I called the caterer. I need to cancel all services for the Lane Carter wedding, I said. The coordinator hesitated. There will be penalties. That's fine. Refund whatever can be refunded. Release the date. Next, I called the florist. She recognized my voice instantly. Oh, Harper. I'm sorry. Something's changed, I told her. Please cancel everything and return whatever portion of my deposit you can. The band was more difficult. They had already cashed my check. But banks have procedures, and I filed a dispute before lunch. By 2 p.m., I'd recovered nearly all of the $8,000 I had poured into this wedding. Not through revenge. Not through sabotage. Simply by unraveling everything I had built. My phone buzzed nonstop: calls from Janice, Ray, Madeline, and finally Evan himself. I didn't answer. Not to punish them, but because silence was the first boundary I had ever allowed myself. That evening, I stood in my small studio apartment, the one I rarely stayed in because duty kept me chained to the bakery. I looked at the bare walls, the pile of laundry, the half-finished client notes on my desk. For once, the mess was mine and mine alone. The next morning, the wedding day arrived. Raleigh smelled like rain even though the sky was clear. I didn't go to the venue. I didn't sit outside to watch. I simply opened my window, made a cup of tea, and let my silence speak. But chaos found me anyway. Around 10, my phone lit up with a frantic call from Janice. If you want to hear what Janice said and how everything unraveled after that, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next part of this story. I let the call ring out. Then another, this time from an unknown number. Then my mother's name. Then my father's. Finally, a voicemail. I pressed play. Harper. Janice snapped, her voice sharp with panic. The flowers aren't here. The florist says the order was cancelled. Call them back right now. Before the message even finished, another began. This isn't funny, Ray said, breathless. The band isn't coming. The venue says there's no catering. What did you do? Then the third one, Evan. His voice was a hiss. You ruined everything. Fix this or don't bother coming back home. Actually, don't come back at all. I almost laughed at the irony. They were the ones who told me to stay away. I simply honored their wish. While they spiraled, guests began arriving at the Raleigh event hall. A friend later told me everything she saw, every disastrous detail. The parking lot filled with confused relatives in pastel dresses and stiff suits. Inside, the venue smelled like nothing. No roses. No eucalyptus. No floral centerpieces soaking in water. A dozen round tables stood bare except for plain white linens that suddenly looked cheap without decor. The stage in the back sat empty, no microphones, no instruments, no band. And the kitchen staff? They were preparing for an entirely different event. By noon, the panic was loud enough to rattle the windows. Madeline burst into tears when she realized there would be no first dance music. Janice paced the hallway, complaining loudly to anyone who would listen. Ray kept calling vendors, demanding answers he didn't want to hear. Evan, confident, untouchable Evan, stood frozen in the center of the chaos, staring around like someone had yanked the ground out from under him. He tried to salvage it. He tried to sound commanding. Everyone stay calm, it's just a mix-up. But lies crumble quickly when entitlement holds them up. Guests murmured. Some left. Others whispered. Did the family not pay their bills? The best man attempted an awkward speech to distract the crowd. Madeline cried harder. A child asked loudly, is there at least cake? There wasn't. By 1 o'clock, the venue coordinator approached Janice with a clipboard. Without vendors and without food, she said, we need to discuss event cancellation terms. The wedding, after months of pressure, demands, insults, and impossible perfectionism, was officially over. And I wasn't even there to witness it. I didn't need to be. Their voices filled my voicemail like a chaotic documentary unfolding in real time. But in the middle of all the noise, one message stood out. Miles. Whatever's happening right now, I hope you're breathing easier. I was. By mid-afternoon, I stepped onto the small balcony of my Raleigh apartment. The air was warm, touched with the softness of early summer. Cars drifted by below, unbothered. A dog barked somewhere down the block. A neighbor watered her hanging ferns. Life continued quiet, steady, completely unaffected by the collapse of the Lane Carter wedding. I thought of every moment I'd been dismissed. Every late night spent fixing their plans. Every sneer. Every comment. Every reminder that I wasn't enough. And then I heard my mother's voice again. The best gift you can give this family is staying away. For the first time, it didn't hurt. It felt true, a gift not for Evan, but for me. By evening, my voicemail inbox was full. Some messages were furious. Some panicked. Some, like Ray's last one, sounded worn and defeated. Not a single one apologized. Not a single one asked if I was okay. All of them demanded I fix what they destroyed. I turned off my phone. Then I opened my laptop and typed a message I had avoided for years, an inquiry to a realtor in Asheville about available apartments. A place I visited once and loved instantly, but never believed I deserved to start over in. Their wedding had collapsed. Their illusion of perfection was crumbling with it. But for the first time in my life, I was building something of my own. 2 weeks after the disaster, I moved to Asheville. Not a dramatic escape, not a midnight runaway, just quietly, with 2 suitcases and a calm that settles after you finally stop standing in a storm. My new apartment was small, but sunlight spilled through the windows in a way I'd never seen back home. It felt like a place meant for breathing again. While I settled into this new rhythm, Raleigh unraveled without me. Miles sent gentle updates, never gloating, just informing me what happened once the person who held everything together stepped away. Vendors pulled their extended credit. Suppliers tightened their terms. My parents tried stepping in at the bakery after I left, but the systems I built weren't magic. They needed consistency, attention, and the kind of effort no one in my family ever cared to give. Evan tried to take charge, but management wasn't something he could charm or bluff his way through. Within weeks, the bakery that had survived recessions, slow seasons, and every storm Raleigh threw at it collapsed under the weight of their negligence. Not long after, I saw the family house listed online. Cozy lived-in property near downtown. I wondered whether buyers could feel the strain still trapped in those walls. As for Evan, Madeline left quietly, returning her ring in a padded envelope with a short note. I didn't celebrate. I didn't need to. Some consequences don't require applause. In Asheville, my life began to grow in small, steady ways. Shirley, who owned the little bakery down the street, welcomed me like she had saved a space just for me. Her shop became the place where I met local business owners, picked up new clients, and remembered what it felt like to be valued without conditions. My income stabilized. My days had a rhythm again. I found a hiking trail I loved. A cafe learned my order by heart. And slowly, I met a version of myself I didn't know existed. One morning, a letter arrived in my mailbox, my mother's handwriting looping across the envelope. Inside, she wrote about health scares, about needing me, about family sticking together. It wasn't an apology. It was a pull. I wrote back, briefly polite but final. I wished her well, but I didn't return. Because healing isn't the same as going back. Looking back now, I don't feel triumph or bitterness, just relief. Leaving wasn't the punishment they imagined. It was the beginning of a life that finally belonged to me. Their wedding collapsed. The bakery followed. And the version of me who spent years trying to earn their love is gone too. What remains is quieter, stronger, and no longer afraid to choose peace over permission. If any part of my story echoes yours, share it in the comments so none of us walk this alone. And if you want more stories like this one, hit subscribe. A new chapter is waiting for you every day.